I've coached triathletes for 25 years now, and I keep seeing the same 5 mistakes hold people back. The strange thing is that a lot of these people are motivated, committed athletes who think they're doing the right thing. In this video, I want to share 5 lessons that I've learned from coaching thousands of triathletes, runners, and endurance athletes. These are not complicated ideas, but they are the kind of lessons that can save you months of frustration, help you avoid common mistakes, and hopefully help you get more out of the fitness that you already have. The first lesson is that a lot of athletes are more influenced by what they want people to see on Strava than they realise. Now, there's nothing wrong with Strava itself. It can be motivating, useful, and a good way to stay connected with other athletes. The problem starts when your training decisions become influenced by how the session will look afterwards, rather than what the session is meant to achieve. A simple example is the long run. For most athletes, a long run should be controlled, steady, and comfortable. It should develop endurance without creating so much fatigue that it affects the rest of your week. But often people run too hard because they want their average pace to look good on Strava. Or they see someone else posting a long run and then start wondering whether they're doing enough. So the danger is not one session, it's that the danger is in the pattern that it can create. When too many easy sessions become moderate and too many moderate sessions become hard, you start accumulating fatigue for no additional training benefit. And since we're all juggling our training around busy lives, extra fatigue is not helpful or beneficial here. You should judge your training on whether it served its purpose, not by whether it looked impressive on Strava. If a session is meant to be easy, then doing it easy is not a lack of discipline, it is the discipline. The second lesson that I've learned is that the fittest and most talented athletes are not always the most successful. Over the years, I've coached and known some very impressive athletes. Some had exceptional power numbers on the bike, some could run very fast in training, some were naturally gifted swimmers, but performance in a triathlon is not just fitness, it's fitness applied well on race day that matters. Sometimes there are understandable reasons why someone doesn't reach their full potential, like when work or family commitments get in the way, and that's normal life and your training has to fit within it. But there are also athletes who get themselves very fit and still don't perform to their potential. So some examples, I once coached an Ironman athlete who trained really hard and consistently and prepared carefully, and he always had the best equipment that money could buy. But on race day, he would take 10 to 15 minutes in each transition, changing outfits and reorganising himself. That might not sound like a huge deal in the context of a long race, but it was often the difference between missing or making an age group podium. I can think of one more example here too. A long distance triathlete who was strong in training, but weak when it came to nutrition, hydration and pacing. They can produce excellent numbers in their workouts, but then on race day they race slightly too hard without fueling properly, and then they suffer badly in the final stages. This is why I always encourage athletes to try and think beyond just fitness. Fitness gives you the opportunity to race well, but it doesn't automatically guarantee you a good race. You still need good decisions. The third lesson is one of the most common patterns I see in long endurance events. When athletes suffer badly in the later stages of an Ironman, a marathon, an ultra, or an all-day cycling event, they often conclude that their nutrition was the problem. Sometimes it was. If you underfuel, underhydrate, or get your intake badly wrong, it can ruin your race. But very often, when you analyse the training data and compare it with the race data, the main issue appears not to have been nutrition, it was about pacing. That's the cruel thing about long-distance racing. You don't need to be wildly wrong to pay quite a big price. Even being 1% too fast can be enough to create fairly significant problems later on in the race. So at the time you're doing it, you feel fine, and you might think you're banking time for later on in the race. But no amount of nutrition can save a pacing mistake. You can have the right gels, the right drink mix, the right sodium intake, and the right breakfast, but if your intensity is too high for too long, your body will eventually make you slow down. So before blaming your nutrition, review your pacing honestly. Fuel your race well, but don't expect nutrition to rescue a pace that your body was not able to sustain. The fourth lesson is that many amateur athletes would improve more by perhaps training a little less, recovering better and executing the important sessions more effectively. It's not always what motivated athletes actually want to hear. They want to feel that they're doing enough to get fit. But for busy age group athletes, more is not always the missing ingredient. Sometimes the missing ingredient is freshness. So if you're carrying fatigue into every key workout, you won't be getting the best from those sessions. And over time, you end up doing a lot of training without getting the quality or adaptation you were hoping for. A baseline of 6 purposeful sessions per week, often 2 swims, 2 bikes and 2 runs, can work very well for many people. It gives enough frequency to develop each discipline whilst leaving you fresh enough to execute them all properly. That doesn't mean 6 sessions is perfect for everyone, of course. Some athletes need less, some people can handle more. But the principle remains the same. Your training has to fit the life you lead. If your training plan only works when your sleep is perfect, your job is easy, and your family life is calm, then it's probably not the right plan. This is also the mindset around which my own training plans are built. So if you do want that structure laid out for you, you can check them out at myprocoach.net or via the link in the description. Once that structure is in place, the real job is not to keep adding more workouts. It's to follow the plan consistently enough so that your body can absorb it and your fitness can grow. The 5th lesson is that some very good athletes never quite reach their potential because they're not switched on enough about injury prevention and injury management. So it could be a calf that tightens whenever the running training builds up, or an Achilles that feels fine for a while and then flares up again, or a hip issue that does not stop them completely but stops them from pushing hard. And other times it becomes more serious and they have to stop running for several weeks or even a couple of months. And they keep swimming and cycling and they maintain what fitness they can, but the consistency is gone, and in endurance sports that really matters. So the important point is that injury prevention is not just something that happens to you, it's something that you manage yourself through sensible training progression, by not increasing volume and intensity too quickly, and by listening to early warning signs. The other thing that these athletes are not so good at is the comeback phase, and that's where a lot of these people get unstuck. So it's where you get an injury and you rest until the pain settles, and then you jump back too quickly into full training. There's a big difference between an injury feeling better and the body being ready for full training again, especially when it comes to running. These same athletes are often the ones who ignore strength training too, or only start doing it once they're already injured. Some athletes still see strength and conditioning as something separate from performance, when really it should be part of the same training process. For most endurance athletes, 1 or 2 short, focused, sensible strength sessions per week can really make a big difference. And the aim with them is durability, better control, better stability, and better movement under fatigue. And over time, that can help you move more economically and reduce the likelihood of injuries. So injury prevention is not just luck or a side project, it's a skill. And the athletes who learn that skill give themselves a much better chance of turning good training into good results. So if you recognise yourself in any of these 5 lessons, please don't see it as criticism, by the way. See it as useful information. Every athlete, myself included, has made these mistakes. The goal is really to learn from them and make better decisions next time. Let me know in the comments which of these lessons you've learned the hard way, or if you have any other valuable lessons to share, please. And on screen right now, you should see a link to my video on time-efficient strength and conditioning workouts, which will help you avoid injuries and move with more economy. Please subscribe to my channel for my fortnightly videos, and I'll hopefully see you next time.